So, of course, so why is ocean modeling that important? And one of the reasons, of course, there are several reasons. I'll give a few of them later on. But one of the reasons is the cost involved in using alternative approaches to study the ocean. Okay, so cost is one of them. It's very expensive to take a ship to the ocean for, let's say, a month or so to study some part of the ocean. Is quite expensive, millions of dollars, and of course it's also very expensive to launch a satellite in space. So these are all expensive approaches, and so the alternative is modeling, which is comparatively less expensive. And then you have other advantages, like if you model, you have higher spatial and temporal resolutions compared to like in situ or satellite observations. Satellites mostly provide you with surface data, surface information. You don't have much information deep down the ocean. And if you take a ship out to sea and take in situ measurements, of course, then you are also limited in spatial coverage. You can only stand at a particular spot and take measurements for, who knows, for a couple of maybe weeks or days. And so you are limited in the spatial coverage. Of course, these are important. I will talk about that later on. All these approaches are very, very important. But I'm just highlighting some of the advantages of doing modeling, which is one of these higher spatial and temporal resolutions. And of course, perhaps the most important one is the ability of a model to forecast. Right, you are able to forecast and project. For instance, the sea surface temperature a few days from now, perhaps in weeks from now. You can do some kind of forecasting with SST, sea surface height, SSH, the positions of major fronts and eddies. So models are able to do this, whereas other methods are not able to give you forecast, for example. So these are some of the advantages of ocean modeling. So here's an example, for instance, from the HICOM group, where they are giving a forecast of sea surface temperature all the way to August 6th. So from July, somewhere at the beginning of July, all the way to the 6th of August, they are giving predictions of the states of the ocean in terms of the sea surface temperature. They do this for sea surface height as well, okay, and other parameters. So these are some of the advantages of ocean modeling. Another one is that using a model, you are able to get these fine structures of ocean eddies. This is relative vorticity again from the HICOM group. You are able to see these nice structures, which of course is difficult to get if you just take a ship and stand at the spot. It's difficult to measure this in a nice way. And of course, satellites will give you this, but I mean, how long do they? What is the temporal resolutions of that? Maybe once in 9 days, 7, 10 days, a satellite will fly over. By using models, you are able to get all these nice information about the eddies, the vorticity. Okay. So these are some of the advantages of using the model. Of course, one of the advantages is that you are able to understand the three-dimensional dynamics that are going on within the ocean. Okay, so this is a paper we published a few years back in 2017, where we're looking at the mixing within the ocean caused by breaking internal waves, okay, and internal tides. Okay, you have the internal tidal flow over ocean bumps, and they are generating high mode and low mode waves. You have currents flowing over topography in the ocean, generating lee waves. You have wave-wave interaction. So you have several things that are going on within the ocean. So using a global model, you are able to study all these interesting and complex interactions and processes that are going on within the ocean. So in that sense, models are also very, very important. So as I mentioned before, All the processes are important. I'm just highlighting these three here. So the modeler needs information from, for instance, the observational oceanographers to be able to validate, or if you like, evaluate their model to make sure that the data that is being spit out by the models are accurate enough. You're able to determine how accurate your data is. So modelers need in situ information, so that is important. When the modeler finds something interesting in some part of the ocean, he can inform the observational oceanographers. Then they can go out to sea and check it out and see whether that is really happening in the ocean as well. Before you launch a satellite into orbit, oftentimes you have to use a model, right? A model to study certain things, to see how these measurements need to be done in order not to waste millions of dollars launching a satellite. So they need models to do that. Okay, so all these processes and all these approaches are very important. So it's not a competition; it's a teamwork. Teamwork, when you collaborate and do teamwork, we are able to achieve bigger things, or perhaps look bigger. All right, when you get involved in teamwork. All right. So moving on. So I'll end this introductory part by saying that modeling is not about colorful images and videos. Of course, those are part of it, but you can use modeling to do high-level research. In the next 2 slides or so, I'll talk a bit about that. You can actually do high-level research and publish papers with data from a model or by just modeling yourself. Okay. So this is a movie I often like to show from the Max Planck Institute of Ocean Modeling, where they did a global model of the ocean and they modeled internal waves. So these red spots are waves that are inside, that are within the ocean. They are called internal waves. I showed you this in the lab experiments that I did a few years back with my advisor, my supervisor. So these waves are within the ocean and they are very important. I don't have time to go into all of that, but they carry energy with them. And so once they are generated, they propagate for thousands of kilometers, and of course they carry energy and dump them in places where scientists are still trying to understand. And also these internal waves can cause mixing within the ocean as well, and of course that means they can change the stratification in particular regions of the ocean. So these internal waves are very important, and so these guys have done a good job of modeling them globally. And so one of the papers we are working on, for instance, right now, is taking the amplitude, the globally average amplitude of these internal waves, for instance, from a satellite-derived product, which is like our real observation, if you like, that is this dashed line here. And then we want to see how all these different global models are doing compared to, right, the real thing, which is the satellite observational stuff. Okay, so all these are different models that are being compared to this to see which is performing better and why. And we also see that the length of the time series you use helps you to be able to also has something to do with how accurate your data is compared to the satellite observation. So the question we are basically trying to ask is how accurate are the internal tides from global models compared to observations, and we are doing this using several global models. And this is actually a building upon a previous paper that we published in 2015. Okay, so this is still work in progress. So I'm not going into details of this. This is just to tell you that you can use modeling to do high-level, interesting kind of research and publish papers from them. Okay. So question is, where and how do I start learning ocean modeling? Okay, so if I want to start the modeling process, where do I begin from? So in the next few slides, I'll take you through